Hi everybody, it's Willem Life 4, and I'm here with my second video in my series on how to build this mini factory that manufactures meds and chems in Starfield. If you were coming from my first video, you'll notice that there are a couple of changes here, and let me show you what I have done. I've added the second animal husbandry facility or ranch, and a couple more greenhouses. I've upgraded the water systems from commercial to industrial, and I've added another wind turbine in order to generate the power that's necessary. And the reason I did that was that I needed to regulate the production of this factory. As we kind of walk around, first of all, you can see, there's meds that are being manufactured. You see, this is, I mean, I love the ranches and outposts. I mean, the animals are great. The whole experience is a lot of fun. It's very slow in comparison to mining, but you know, when you go up and you look inside the greenhouses here and see, you know, the little miniature plants growing. I mean, the whole thing is really, really cool. But okay, you know, enough of that. Let's get down to the business of how you can actually go and build this. If you remember, here's a chart that we are going by in terms of the stages of production. But for the production that's only on Serpentius 4, which are those 5 products bandages through AMP, you'll notice that there are some duplicates. That is to say, I need 2 membranes, 2 sealants, and 2 metabolic agents. We only had 1 in our first setup, so it created an imbalance that I have now corrected by adding additional greenhouses and 1 more ranch. Now, going forward, in today's video, we're going to add the additional stages, which are from alpha Andraste and alpha Tirna. You can see that that's going to magnify this problem because membrane is required for a bunch of those. And after we make antibiotics, those then are used again, meaning even more membrane is going to be required. So we're going to have to make some adjustments. And we'll do that in one of 2 ways. We can either just keep adding ranches or greenhouses, or we can move up the scale to a higher capacity building. For example, the large size industrial size ranch produces 3 times as much as the entry level. So you see there's a way that we can make these adjustments on the fly, so to speak. In any event, we'll wrestle with that problem when we get the additional materials. So let's plan our next stop here, which is to alpha Andraste 2, where we will find antimicrobial and helium to power the cargo links. Just on that one planet alone, we will almost double the number of products and a couple more valuable ones that we'll be able to produce. But before we go to that, let's look at what makes all of this possible. This mod, Manufacturing Meds and Chems by Betamax, takes the production away from workbenches and manual labor and automates it. So you see that the fabricators that are in front of you in the picture and that we just have just seen in this site automate this entire process. A second mod that we use is called Domesticate All Flora by AMF Boy. Both of these are available on Xbox and PC. And what this one does is it enables us to scan plants that in the vanilla game would not be permitted for production. It makes them domesticatable, as the saying goes. Here's another mod, which is an option that I find very useful, so that you can build all of the equipment and buildings and so on necessary here with credits, instead of having to go out and and find the raw materials to do that. And finally, Z-Ogre's hand scanner tweaks that provides a great deal of assistance in things like reducing the number of scans that are necessary on a plant and animal, increasing the range of the scanner, and a few other things that are really helpful. Again, these two are also available on Xbox and PC. Step number 1 before we leave here is to build a cargo link so we can have a connection to bring our new materials in. And I like to use the Dark Star links because I think they just look cool. So we'll just put that over here. We don't have to do anything with this now because the helium will be powered at Alpha Andraste too. So let's head over there. Even though the weather's turned against us, things are going pretty smoothly here. So it's time to head off to Alpha Andraste to get the rest of our materials. So here we are in Serpentius, and my plan is that we're going to Alpha Andraste to get most of the materials that we still need. And as you can see, as I try and navigate over here, it's about as far away as you can get within Starfield. So you asked the question, Will, why are we going to Alpha Andraste? Okay, well, there's several factors we have to consider. One, we need to get the most materials we can in the same location or close to the same location. Secondly, the animals and plants that we have to harvest have to be capable of production. That is, they are domesticatable. Third, we have to have helium to transport those materials back. And fourth, we have to have water so we can grow the plants. Well, it's pretty tough to find all of those things. It's impossible on one planet. Alpha Andraste gives us the best bet within the same system. Let's start with Alpha Andraste 3. Alpha Andraste 3 gives us biosuppressant and sedative, and it has water. So let's go down there and try and get the plants that we need for this outpost. Okay, we're here on the surface. So we have to, let's see, we need to find the lattice leaf and spitting pokeweed. I'm using Z-Ogre's great scanner pod, and I see a bunch of plants here. I need lattice leaf and spitting pokeweed. Let's see what this one is. Spitting goatweed. That's not it. There's the spitting pokeweed. Sedative. Now I need lattice leaf. Let's see, over here maybe. See something that looks a little different. That's not it. Come on, lattice leaf. Oh, maybe this one. That looks different. Lattice leaf. Biosuppressant. Okay, let's get back to the ship right away because there's a lot of nasty creatures here. So I'm going to build the outpost up here in Frozen Dunes to get away from some of those really tough animals that are...
Landing site locked. Take us in.
So let's get out of the ship and take a look at what the situation is here. It's pretty obvious. There's still fauna. But let's put the outpost down over here. And go up into To make sure that we have water here, we do. So we need 2 greenhouses. And I'm going to make them both big greenhouses. I don't want to have to keep running back here if we start to run out of stuff. So this is not build the frugal scientific builder here. Because in reality, we only need biosuppressant for one of the meds, whereas sedative, well, they're both programmed now as biosuppressant, but we need sedative for more than one. So I'm going to go down and now program them properly. So there's biosuppressant there, and over here is the other one, and we will program that to sedative. Now, another factor here which I'm not taking into consideration is that there are different production rates for each of these materials. Again, I'm not going to be concerned about that. All of it gets adjusted. If you can put bots here, it increases everything. It's just a little bit too much and really not that important. Since I'm paying for my storage with my credits, some of it anyway. I don't know when. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. This is the storage for our biosuppressant. And sedative. Now we need a cargo link here. Just a regular one because we have to send that water and the output here to Andraste 2, which is where our helium is located. So let's connect that up to output. Put down another extractor for water. And connect that for output. Now we have a need for power. And I think that says 46. So let's go up and see what we can get from our tower. Power. Well, okay, well, a couple of these. That gives us power. We only need 46, so I think that's everything we need to do on Andraste 3. Let's go over to Andraste 2. Alright, Alpha Andraste 2.
What do you...
And we need to find helium. And we just need one plant. It's also in the craters. So I think we'll be in pretty good shape in that regard.
Looks clear. Initiating landing sequence.
If I had mentioned it before, this is a lovely Mark V free spaceship from Dark Star Astrodynamics, which I much appreciate. Okay, let's go over and see if we find that vine somewhere. I see something right up here. I think this is it. Aviva Vine. Antimicrobial outpost production allowed. But it needs water, and there is no water on Alpha Andraste 2. So let's start building the outpost. Might as well do it here. Okay, I want to drop down. Here, it looks like we do have helium. Let's see where it is. Ah, right here, okay. let's put a storage container. Link it together. Come on. Now let's build our cargo links. We just need one local. That connects to Andraste 3, and then another one which has to be an intersystem that connects back to Serpentius. Now we need one greenhouse. Then I'll make a large one. For antimicrobial, but you see it needs water, which we're going to have to get from Andraste 3, but we still have to provide power. And I think the solar domes, we need to find an open space. Let's try over here. And we're going to need 4 of those. That gives 48. Okay, now we have to get this, the helium here has to connect to the back of this one. All right, let's go down and connect them to the right locations. Well, let's go over and program this one is the inter-system. And that connects to Serpentius. And this one is the local one, and that's Andraste. Okay, and we see that water, sedative, and biosuppressant is coming there. So we're going to have to be ready for that. We have to go and build some storage here. So we won't have I'll use Dark Star storage and a Dark Star liquid for the water. And, incoming. The solid goes here, and we hope the liquid goes there, and then liquid then goes over to here. And the output of antimicrobial comes over to the outgoing back to Serpentius. And this incoming biosuppressant and sedative also goes there. So let's look at the surface, let's look at that. Let's go down. It may be too soon for us to see anything actually. Well, here, this would be linked to the outgoing. Now, it's going to take a while for all that to happen. So why don't I rest for a while and come back and we get some results. Okay, I'll stop for a while. Let's see. Biosuppressant, sedative, antimicrobial. Okay, everything is working. And now I'm going to go back and make sure I can connect this again, so I wanted to see whether it was all happening. So we're linking this back to Serpentius 4. I think we're done here. Let's go back to Serpentius 4. Back here on Serpentius, and our spaceship cargo ships arrived, and we are getting good quantities of our required materials. Now, one other thing that I've done is I've built a new inter-system cargo link, because the last step in our process is we have to travel to Alpha Tirna so we can get carboxylic acids. And I chose that location because I think it is the only one, or the easiest one I could find, in which it is possible to get carboxylic acids and helium. So we'd be able to just ship it back here without having to go through any other intermediate steps. So let's shoot over to Alpha Tirna and get that side of it set up. So Alpha Tirna, you can see, is kind of in the, let's say, the southern part, kind of centrally located. So let's go there. And we want to go to 8A. It's already set. So just let me show you what this planet looks like. We have frozen plains and we have craters. So we need helium, which obviously is always in the craters. Carboxylic acids in the frozen plains. However, there's also argon there. So just like in the other spots, we need to find a seam between the craters and the frozen plains. So let's start looking, and if I find it, I'll be sure to let you know. Well, as you can see, it took me a couple shots, but I finally found one. And here we are, and you'll see if I jump up here that we're right on the spot where the two biomes come together. So let's put down our helium. The default will be fine. We just have to make sure that we have some here. Okay, of course it's over in the craters. And now we need our carboxylic acids. And one of those should be enough. We're only going to be making one product with that one. Now I need of course, a cargo link. Intersystem. And I just need to connect that to outgoing. And now we need the power. Let's see. So what would I have to, I think it says power of, we need 10. So it looks like we're going to have to put down a few of these guys. So that gives us 12, which is enough. So we'll just need to go down and connect this thing up to put this a little closer to my beacon here, make it a little bit easier. So we'll connect that. But I forgot one thing I have to do is I have to send the helium that I have connected over here to power that cargo link. All right, now it should be in business. Well, I'm at it. Just another trick here. I'm just gonna move this guy over so he's a little bit closer in case I have to come back here. Don't want to have to walk so far. All right, back to Serpentius. Okay, well, I've gone ahead and programmed this cargo link to connect to Tirna. Our carboxylic acid's already coming in, and I've linked those two cargo links to our transfer container over here. So let's just run over and we see by suppressant, carbonic acid, sedative, antimicrobial, we got all of our materials coming. But we still only we're still only making 5 products. So I have to get together and I have to put down fabricators for antibiotics, penicillin X, analgesic poultice, antibiotic injector, infused bandages, repairing immobilizer, snake oil, and antibiotic paste. We have all the materials we need to make those things. But I'm going to have to rearrange the factory floor here. It looks like they're a little tight with all that equipment that has to go in here. So I'll come back when I get that done. I've gone ahead and built the fabricators, but now we have to face the problem of how do we support those fabricators with greenhouses and ranches. For the first 5, as you remember, we did have this duplicate of membrane sealant and metabolic agent that I handled by just building an additional unit of greenhouse for each of them. Adding just more simple fabricators for antibiotics, penicillin X, and snake oil introduces 2 more membranes, 2 antimicrobials, and 2 more metabolic agents. But that's only the tip of the iceberg. If we expand the list to the compound and multiplex fabricator meds, you see that we introduced just on the surface a duplication of sedative, 2 more analgesics, and a metabolic agent. But take a look at analgesic poultice, for example. That includes heel paste, antibiotics, and bandages. So we have to include those items also. And here the chart's a little bit confusing, but I've just extended it out. So for that analgesic poultice, we see that if it requires heel paste, that's membrane and analgesic. Antibiotics is membrane and antimicrobial. And you can see the duplications up and down the chart. Here's a chart that totals all of the needs for each of the materials. There is also the fact that the ranches and greenhouses all operate at different rates, which would require an adjustment. It's very minor. I didn't fool with it too much because the big problem is over on the right-hand side. If we assume that each time a resource is listed as needed, that would be 1 use, equivalent to the default greenhouse, rancher, extractor. Commercial is 2 times that 1, and industrial is 3 times. So, for example, for membrane, where we have an adjusted level of 12, that would be 4 industrials. 4 times 3 is 12. But of course, you need to have greenhouses to support the fiber as well. Well, here's the total. And on Serpentius 4, we are going to be highly constrained by having to build so many buildings. Well, I went ahead and I started to build this, and here is what happened. Well, I didn't quite finish even building my ranches. I tried to add one more greenhouse. This is for the analgesic. And take a look at down on the left when I try and add that. The outpost budget has been exceeded, and you can see the build limit down on the left side there. That shows that I can't build this with all of the other materials that I have here. There are 4 ways that I figured out to solve this problem of and alternative structures to get around this build limit problem. The first was the one that I used when I built my original factory. This is in the first, let's say, the advanced series on med factories. I just did away with the build limit. As you can see here, there is no limit there, and there's a mod in the console command that does that. And in this one, of course, it's very different because we have a factory floor, and I'll go down and show you what that whole thing looks like. I also use containers to store the specific material and applied it directly to the extractors. It's quite a more complicated setup. And as you can see over here, where I have my output, I'm getting substantial quantities of output. So it's a very workable system. The second and the third options would be to decentralize the operation. Now here we are on Sirius 1, which is one of my favorite planets because of the 1 to 100 local universal time ratio. But in any event, here, as I go up and show you, I'm using cargo links to bring in the raw materials. Here's argon and metabolic agent, carboxylator, biosuppressor, membrane, metabolic, sedative, structural, antimicrobial, fiber, toxin, analgesic, and sealing. All of those materials come into the distribution transfer container, which then sends them out to the fabricators, and the finished products go into the bins. You can see the build limit here is only maybe 25%, because the only things that really cost anything are these fabricators. And again, if we go over, we can see that I'm getting very high levels of production from that without having the build limit problem. That was in video 2. In video 3, I have this factory, which is even more minimal in terms of what is happening, because here I am producing the simple meds off-site on different planets and shipping them in along with a few of the raw materials still necessary. Here you can see, here's antibiotics coming from there. Schrodinger's providing snake oil. Wardock has some raw materials. Here the bandages are coming from Tirna, heel paste from Shoza, and so on. Now, of course, this is more, there are more cargo links here than there would be in a plain vanilla game, and again, there are mods that you can utilize to get around that, but you can see this is really minimal in terms of the actual processing that's being done here, and we're filling up the bins. 3,000, 3,500 is about the most that they can take. I'll just do a quick run to one of the planets and show you what that looks like. So here we are on Tirna 8C, and over here I have 3 fabricators that are making bandages. You can see fiber and sealant. And these are my fiber and sealant greenhouses. Here's the sealant group, and these are the fibers. They feed the fabricators goes into storage, and that goes directly up to our output, our cargo link to Sirius 1 finished meds that we just saw. But of course, guys, this is an advanced system. I think I have 8 or 9 different cargo links, each making one of the finished products that get fed in here. And so it's not the beginner system, but there is a way, the fourth and final way that you can get around the build limit and still have a good functioning fun factory. So going back to the charts again, the easiest thing for us to do is to reduce the number of buildings and construction that is necessary. One of the things we haven't considered is the value, cost, and profit. And it would clearly be in our interest to, if we're going to reduce the production, to reduce it in a way that gives us the maximum profit. So you see here, I have all of them laid out. The value is the retail value the trade authority would give for each of these items. I included a cost column because for the compounds and multiplexes, we have to use finished products that in themselves have value. So I deducted those as a cost to arrive at a net profit. We also have to consider the labor component of our finished product. And I did that with 2 different measures. One, the number of materials that we have to harvest or mine for each of these products. Notice that O2 requires 8 different materials. Secondly, the labor involved in building the buildings is substantial. So I also included that. And here we see that the analgesic poultice requires 9 buildings. So I did the divisions, came up with a ranking. And here's the final rank, with the most profitable, per se, at the top of the list and the least at the bottom. Here's the final ranking by buildings and materials. And I decided that I was going to give preference to the buildings because that really is a lot more problem and challenge. Here's my final list. And I decided that to keep things reasonable, we would only manufacture 7 items for sale. And these are the ranking. And I gave preference to the buildings since that is the most labor intensive. And the only exception really is the O2, which is the most value, does require the most labor, but it's such a cool product I wanted to have a few extra to put them in my pocket. So here's the list. Now let's get started building it. So here is the finished Outpost. And as you can see, it's pretty compact. And I have a slide up above that gives you the recipes that we have for the 7 meds that we are making. But let me go up into build mode and show you around. Here's the overhead view, and you can see that it's a very compact setup. Before we go further though, let me point out that the build limit you see on my shoulder, we're about 60%, so there's lots more opportunities to build here. In terms of our local production, here's the setup. We have toxin, sealant, analgesic, membrane, fiber, here's metabolic agent, and finally structural. Argon and chlorine, of course, are coming in, and the alpha Andraste materials go into this transfer container that gets sent directly to their fabricators. The carboxylic goes directly to its own container. And let's look at that, because that to me is the key to running any kind of a factory system, and that is inventory control. So I can just go over here and see how I'm doing. This analgesic is doing very well. Fiber is doing very poorly. Membrane, poor. Metabolic agent, just holding on. Sealant is excellent. Structural materials, more than I need. Toxin is very good. Chlorine, way too much. Carbolics is good. And argon is probably okay. So if I were managing the system, I would definitely build more membrane. I'd probably do one less sealant, overproducing the tank. But you have to you can't just do it one time. You have to keep checking, because we're dependent on an engine that's doing a lot of things. But just to show you one product, here's preparing immobilizer, and that requires build immobilizer here, you build bandages here, and they combine together, think together here. Same system for O2 shot, antibiotics paste, amp, infused bandages, penicillin X, and snake oil. Now you see there's no storage of those materials in our fabricators, because they're all going into this storage container. And this really measures how well the system is doing. And you can see that it's doing quite well. I mean, that's quite a good quantity of materials that are being produced here, which all can be taken out and sold, and I'm sure that's a considerable amount of credits. So let us just go over here and stand on the porch for a second, because I think that wraps up this video, which is the second in the series. The first video we just made 5 meds. Here we're making 7, but combine them with more profitable and more complicated ones involving compound and multiplex fabricators. For those of you who want to do more, please go to my series of 3 videos in which I show you how to get around the build limit problem, and then how to decentralize your production so that involves many more locations and cargo links, but is much higher capacity. So if you like this, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. I will provide links to everything, including the parts list, so that you see everything that goes into building this particular outpost. The slides with the recipes and so on will all be in the links below. And now I have a final special treat for you. Here is a brief glimpse at a new video which I am making. Well, here we are walking down behind a row of containers, and you can see that those containers are filling up with some of your favorite chems and aids that up to now you could only get through finding them in your travels or buying them from vendors. But here they are. And as I said, they are being produced in quantity. Here's Reconstim and Red Trench, Red Amp, Squall, Synapse Alpha, and Whiteout. So there's 18 of these chems being produced. But wait, now we're looking at our meds. This particular mod in this system will allow you to build 25 of them, including med packs and junk flush, trauma packs, all in quantity. So I hope that you will come back and see my next video in this series, because I think you'll be very happy with the results that you see in front of you. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.